Since this war between Russia and Ukraine began, one thing that stood out was how geopolitical equations have changed, particularly how countries in the West have rebalanced their relationship with Russia. And no country signifies this more than Israel. In the first few days of this war, one of the first countries to come out and publicly support Ukraine was Israel. In fact, the then Israeli Foreign Minister Yair Lapid was one of the first to extend support to Ukraine and President Vladimir Zelensky of Ukraine. The then Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett even visited Ukraine to extend his support. He did go and meet Putin in Moscow, and there was talk for a brief while that Israel could play some kind of mediator, but very soon, because of domestic pressure and because of coalition compulsions, the previous government went all out in support of Ukraine, and that was very much in evidence in all the resolutions that were passed in the United Nations Security Council. But all of that seems to have now changed under the new government headed by Benjamin Netanyahu. The new Israeli Foreign Minister, Eli Cohen, has signaled a major policy shift on Ukraine in his first speech. He has hinted that the new Israeli government might take a more pro-Russia line. He also said that he will be speaking this week with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. That is going to be the first ever call between the foreign ministers of Russia and Israel since the invasion of Ukraine began almost a year ago. Now, in that maiden speech that Eli Cohen made, he hinted that unlike his predecessor, Yair Lapid, he will not publicly condemn Russia as far as this war is concerned. This is what he said, and I quote, "On the issue of Russia and Ukraine, we will do one thing for sure. We will speak less in public." On Crux Decode, what does this mean for Israel's Russia policy, particularly in the context of the Russia-Ukraine war, which is now going to reach its one-year anniversary in February? How may this be perceived in Washington, which of course happens to be Israel's #1 ally? Will the Biden administration take kindly to this change of course by Israel? And most importantly, how may Iran respond to this? Iran has been helping Russia with drones, and of course everyone knows that historically Tehran is daggers drawn with Tel Aviv, especially now under a more hawkish government headed by Netanyahu. How may relations change? The new Israeli Foreign Minister Eli Cohen also said in that maiden speech that he's going to draft a new responsible policy on the war in Ukraine. He also stressed that the Israeli Foreign Ministry will be preparing a detailed presentation to be presented to the Security Cabinet on this issue later this month. He's also said, just to assuage concerns in Kiev and possibly in Washington, that Israel will continue with its humanitarian aid to Ukraine. But the key question is this: will Israel provide the high-tech drones that Ukraine so desperately needs? The new foreign minister's first speech effectively rules out any kind of high-tech weapon supply. He has been under pressure by Western countries, particularly the United States, to provide Ukraine with drones. Remember, this is coming on the back of Iran backing Russia with state-of-the-art drones, the Shahed, the Muajir series, and this is, of course, has been to the detriment of Ukraine and has caused much consternation in global capitals from Washington to London to Paris. So why is there now a new change of stand as far as the Israeli foreign minister is concerned, and why is this important? Now, why it matters is because Eli Cohen's predecessor, like I said, Yair Lapid, had led a very tough line on Russia. In fact, he had publicly condemned Russia and its unilateral action. He even said that the Russian military had committed war crimes. Now, since the invasion, Yair Lapid did not speak to Sergei Lavrov even once, and after he assumed office as the caretaker prime minister just before the elections, he did not speak to Vladimir Putin either. Now, according to Israeli security experts, Cohen's words imply that Israel has no intention of sending arms to Kiev even under a Netanyahu government. Russia's use of Iranian drones and missiles in this war to strike at both Ukrainian civilian and military targets has increased pressure on Israel to do the same, to give Kiev a supply of highly advanced defensive weapons. However, Israel has deep-standing ties with Russia. It effectively has very, very high stakes in the fight that's been going on in Syria. Israel, of course, shares a border with Syria, and Russia is effectively involved in the war in Syria on the side of President Bashar al-Assad. Israel would not want to do anything that would upset the calm and peace on its borders with Syria. Furthermore, Israel is also operating inside Syrian territory against Iran and Iran-backed militias. Remember, this cannot be done unless there is some level of military and technical coordination with Russia, if not anything, at least to avoid untoward incidents. Another factor that is preventing Israel from providing its own missile defense systems has got to be secrecy. In fact, as security experts note, Israeli air defense systems are manufactured with high-tech components that only Israel produces. These are classified as highly secret. Another factor which concerns the security guarantees for Israel in the event of any kind of negative reaction from Russia is that Israel, just like Ukraine, is not a member of NATO. And in the unlikely event that there were to be a conflict, let's say for example in this northern part of Israel bordering Syria, if there were to be some kind of a flare-up, then there is no guarantee that NATO would actually step in to help, even though the United States is a military ally and a treaty ally of Israel. Moreover, in case of supplying advanced systems to Ukraine, Russia could also supply anti-missile systems to Iran and also therefore to Syria. Iran already has the S-300 air defense missile systems. In fact, the deliveries of the S-300s were completed in November of 2016 in light of an $800 million deal that both Russia and Iran had signed way back in 2007. Even in Syria, following Russia's involvement in the civil war alongside our Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, Damascus had obtained some of these S-300 batteries in 2018, and that too raised serious concerns in Israel. Now, Israel back in 2013 had managed to convince Russia not to deliver these highly advanced batteries to the government in Damascus. Moscow also deployed the technologically advanced S-400 missile defense systems to Syria in 2015 to protect its military centers. The Hmeim Air Base in Latakia province in the naval base in Tartus is one such example. But the worry for the new Netanyahu government and this change of policy vis-a-vis Russia and the Ukraine war is going to ring in shores far away, particularly in the United States, which of course is Israel's biggest ally and most important military and defense partner. US Senator Lindsey Graham, for example, who's a Republican from South Carolina, he reacted to the new Israeli Foreign Minister Eli Cohen's comments on the Russia-Ukraine war and said that to stay quiet about Russia's criminal behavior will not age well. So far, though, there's been no reaction from the Biden administration, but it's unlikely that these comments and this change of stand from Israel will be welcomed by the White House. After all, Biden and Bibi Netanyahu have also shared a rather blow-hot and blow-cold relationship in the past. Viewers will remember how Biden had said that Bibi Netanyahu was one of the few leaders in the world who he can look in the eye and say, cut out the BS. All in all, it's going to be an interesting next few weeks as far as the world trying to convince Russia to stop this war. Remember, this war is fast approaching its one-year anniversary, and this subtle change of stand that Israel has taken vis-a-vis Russia could have ramifications far beyond the Middle East and far beyond this current war.